NWSL Week 1 is officially here. It kicks off Friday. Orlando Pride against the Chicago Stars. $5 in the jar anytime we say Red Stars. That's 8 p.m. on Amazon Prime. There's also another 8 p.m. match, so double screens starting on Friday. Houston against Washington. 4 matches on Saturday. KC against Portland. Louisville against North Carolina. Utah against Bay, and Seattle against Gotham. Sunday, just one match. It's the California Clash, Angel City against San Diego. Now, you guys know I love a fun fact here. And this weekend, we could potentially see the 1,000th NWSL player make their debut. So from the inaugural
No,
1,000 McCall.
that's wild.
insane. From the inaugural game in April 2013, you were there, McCall, all the way up to the 2025 Challenge Cup game last Friday, 999 players have taken the field in an NWSL match. And you're one of them, both of you ladies. How cool is that, though?
When
I
you
feel
said
honored.
that, my mind just went back to that moment when you're checking in, you're on the sideline and they put up your number. I was just like
Yeah.
I was physically entering the game in my brain just now.
It will be very cool to see who is that 1,000th player. It's probably going to happen in Friday night between Orlando, Chicago, Houston, and Washington. Orlando, potentially, they already played a game this season, though, that does count as an NWSL player. But let's talk about these games and these teams, McCall, because there have been a lot of different improvements, trades, transfers in this offseason. But which team has made the improvements that are necessary for them to have a good start to 2025?
I love that word necessary because as we were just talking about Kansas, they made a lot of moves, arguably the most moves this offseason, but a lot of the same type of player, attacking players, attacking threats, right? So who made the smartest move? Who plugged pieces and upgraded the pieces that they needed to? And also a lot of them lost some pieces like Sophia Wilson, formerly Sophia Smith, for Portland. Like that is such an enormous loss from her pregnancy. And also, there's just a lot of changes and roster changes. I love that Lynn is now in Seattle. We'll see how they do. That was a good, big upgrade and plug. They had a difficult time scoring goals last year. So hopefully Lynn can do that. All in all, I would say DC has been very, very consistent with who they have in their performance. And we'll see if they get Andy Sullivan back this year from her injury. Blessings to you, girly. And, I have them in my top. I have the Spirit in my top. I have Orlando in my top, KC in my top, and North Carolina. I think they made some really good moves. Head coach Sean Nahas really knows how to put together a squad. He knows what pieces he needs. He lost Narumi, but then he gained some really good attacking power in Jaden Shaw. So I'm really excited to watch North Carolina. I think they made the necessary moves.
Dee, before we hear your team, Andy Sullivan, she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
She's out
That's
on maternity leave.
right. Yes. Oh, good luck to her.
Exactly. Good luck. Okay, Dee, let me hear your team.
The Houston Dash. The Houston Dash made big money moves. They got a GM, thank God. They got a coach, thank God. They brought in Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan. I'm not going to name every single player, but to me, those are the two biggest ones that are going to make a massive difference going into this season. And shout out to Yasmin because it took her a week into preseason. Lisa, I think we interviewed her and they offered her a 3-year contract to stay at the team. So she's crushing it. I think that Houston is really going to be a team that's tough to play against this year. I mean, they've always been very unpredictable. You didn't know how they were really going to come out, if they were going to be really great defensively, really aggressive in the attack. I don't really know if Houston knew the last couple of years, but I think under Gatrot, they're going to have much more of an identity. They have players there that you can play, define your team around, define your playing style, have confidence and some pride in the way that you're playing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they show up this weekend. They have a tall task against the Spirit. I mean, that is not an easy team to go and play against, especially when you have players coming back from injury that are hungry to possibly, as Lisa said, win a championship this year. It's going to be a good match, but I love this for Houston, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all those players, the team, and the Purple Kits show out and see what they've been working on this offseason.
Can Houston get a win or points off Washington in this opening weekend, Darian?
Yeah, I think they can. Washington still has a lot of injuries. Is Trinity Rodman going to play? How's their midfield looking? That was so skeptical when the Challenge Cup match. Defensively, they still have things to figure out playing out of the back, looking at the way that Orlando pressed them. If I'm Houston, I'm taking a page right out of Orlando's book because they couldn't really play out of the back. I think
Yes, but Houston, Darian.
it's the first game of the season. The old Houston doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, but
This is a
Houston has a
rebrand.
new coach, all these new players, new tactics. It's going to take some time for them to implement this into
Yes.
the
Yeah,
season.
it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
It's first season. It's the first match of the season. It's never going to be a beautiful game. It never is. But I think that kind of works in their favor. It's chaos.
Here's the thing with that, though. I agree with you. I'm really excited to watch Houston. There's so much newness, which can be refreshing and like recharges you and gives you hope.
Yes.
But if they get an early goal scored on them, it just kind of drains your hope. And it's like, here we go again. Like they get those feelings, like, oh no, are we going to have another one of those seasons? So I'd be anxious to see if they do get scored on first, how they react.
Washington already has a leg up too because they've competed in a competitive match already. They have had a week to get out those initial kinks. So Houston was that was the first team I thought of, Darian. And then I said,
Yes.
The question is, who is necessary to have a better start right now? And Utah Royals, they can only go up from their start of 2024. They lost 10 of their first 12 games in their inaugural season.
Brutal.
And Kenny Coonrotz is now the full-time head coach. He took over halfway through the season last year for Utah, and he has brought in players that are going to establish an identity and a style. Tatum Milazzo in the back line, Bianca St. George, who's going to add some veteran depth alongside Ali Sentnor up top. Oh my gosh, brain fart. They also have Ana Maria Guzman. They've brought in Ana Tejada, the Spanish international. They have Mina Tanaka. Utah is going to start this season with a fire under them that we have never seen before because of all these off-season acquisitions and because really they can only go up from 10 wins in their first 12 games. If they win their first 2 games of this 2025 season, they're already off to a better start. Even if they pick up points off their first 2 games, they're off to
That's
a
got to
better.
be so encouraging, right?
All these changes, everything that's come, but we get to see new players in some new names, but new names across the front of their jerseys. Darian, what's one player to watch at a new club that needs to have a significant impact?
Lynn Legsleeve Biondolo. I think she's going to crush it at Seattle. We had Laura Harvey at the desk at the 2024 final, and she mentioned like, that's a player I would love to have on my team. We need a through and through goal scorer. We need somebody that's hungry, that we can make teams really respect us in the attacking front. And my God, was Lynn such an acquirement for them. I think that's going to completely change the way that Seattle plays. I mean, think of the legacy of Seattle. It's Pino, it's Lou Barnes, it's Jess Fishlock, who the game's a little bit more tight. Pino's the one crossing the balls in, yes, but I think Lynn is going to be able to stretch teams so much more. I mean, when you're playing against Lynn, she's the number one player that you scout because of how she can get in behind and how efficient and good she is at scoring goals in a variety of different ways. It was such a good acquirement for Seattle. I want to see how Jess Fishlock, how the wingers are going to start playing with her, how she plays off of Jordan Heidema, that relationship, maybe it's a 9-9, Jordan Heidema checking 2, Lynn stretching, vice versa. I just think that is such a big acquirement, and I want to see her back hungry, especially against her old team. To play against your old team, you're extra motivated to come and show out. So I think Lynn was probably the best move that I saw this season, especially, I mean, like, how was Lynn not starting every game at Gotham? Come on. So shout out to Lynn, shout out to Seattle. This is going to be a really, really good move for both of them.
I'm going to stay on that vibe because Lynn, what's great about her is she's such a good teammate and she really cares about her team. So the environment is important for her. And if the environment is healthy and she's happy, she will ball out. And I have heard nothing but great things about the environment in Seattle for going on over 10 years now. I have not heard one bad thing about their environment ever. And that Laura Harvey does a very good job of managing the players, keeping them locked in, keeping them feel heard and important. And Scott Parkinson, I mean, what a gem. Like, who would not want to play for that man?
Scott.
such a beautiful person who really gets the best out of his players. And I think Lynn is just going to thrive there. She's going to really feed off her environment. She's going to be happy, and she's going to pop in some goals, and she's going to be that dangerous threat that we all are used to her seeing her be.
There is an adjustment period for teams and for players. I don't think Lynn even needs an adjustment minute.
No.
She's just gonna score. She's gonna
It's
score.
going to be so exciting. She's going to do her thing.
Lisa, who's your player?
So I wrote down 3 because I don't know. I like to go off of what you guys are saying. Lynn, definitely one of them. Yasmin Ryan at Houston against Washington, but Jaden Shaw is my number 1 watch for a North Carolina team going up against Racing Louisville. Now, when you think about North Carolina and how they traditionally played on the road, it's been poor. So this is an opportunity and an atmosphere for Jaden Shaw to go into Lynn Family Stadium and to establish herself as a threatening member of North Carolina's midfield or forward, right? We don't know exactly where she's going to play, but that means creating chances, setting up her teammates for success, being dangerous, ripping shots, forcing saves from Lund. And there's a lot of pressure on Shaw and North Carolina to do well, especially if Ashley Sanchez is in the midfield. How do they play together? But that's who my eyes are on, Jaden Shaw in North Carolina this weekend.
I love that shout. Lisa, we're so funny. We had all the same players down, and I didn't think you were going to go to me first with this question. So I had Jaden Shaw, Yasmin Ryan, which I already touched on, and Lynn Biondolo. So I like this. Jaden Shaw, really excited, especially under McCall. We both had Sean as our coach. Incredible tactical technician, super efficient. I think this was such a good move for Shaw and the development of her game. Getting back to what we saw in the W Gold Cup, that level of Jaden Shaw, where she's just every touch is gold, a goal, setting something up. So that's a really good shout, Lisa. And I think this is going to be such a good setup for her.
Good game and a good setup. Yeah, eager to see kind of the tactics that she is responsible for with Sean Nahas and North Carolina. Rookies, guys, we have no draft this year. The first year without an NWSL draft. So there's a bit of question marks around what teams are going to need from their rookies and which rookies are going to play and see time. So you can go either way. If there's a rookie you want to watch or a team that you're like, there's a lot of space for rookies to come in and play, McCall, which one are you looking at and where are you going to go with this?
Well, the concept of a rookie is very interesting now, right? This was the first year that we went away with the draft. So what do we really constitute as a rookie? I believe that we should put an age limit on it. So because if you were playing overseas for 7 years, but this is your first time in the NWSL,
you're not a rookie.
Are you
then
considered a rookie?
No,
I don't know about that. So I think it should be like 24 years or younger. We got to do something like that. But for me, it's a question mark with an answer is that Utah just recently picked up some money in an international spot. And it says to me that they have their eye on somebody. So I'm interested to see who they bring into the league or who they have their eye on to add to their roster because they really need some help. So hopefully they got a big gun coming in and we get to see who that is.
Ooh, that's a fun shout.
I like the way you went with that, McCall. Did you say 24 and under?
24 and under.
24 and under. Okay.
Yeah, I would say a rookie is a first-year professional player. You can have first-time NWSL players, meaning that they've played overseas or in Mexico, but this is like the first time you're a professional and you're seeing like first-team action, I would say. Even if you play in like the USLW.
Even if you play in the USL, I was going to ask you that. Okay.
No, because that's a professional league. You would be a first-year NWSL player. Okay. We got to ask Jen Cooper.
I'm loving McCall's face right now.
Like,
she's like, Lisa, you have a lot of rules here.
I like this question. A team that I think could use that is going to rely on their rookies. Well, I have 2 that jump to the front of my mind. It's Chicago Stars, even though there's a freaking red star still on their emblem, and Portland Thorns. Those are 2 teams that need to rely on those youth players, that need to give them a lot of confidence to compete in this league. I mean, the other teams have a lot more depth to me, proven depth, I'll say, because we still don't know really how Portland's going to come out and how Chicago's going to come out. But you have to build up, instill confidence, instill a playing style into these rookies and really try to get the best out of them because you're going to rely on them. And one team I'll give a position, I shouted her out the other day, but Brooklyn Courtnall with North Carolina Courage. I think that left back position, they were having Danny Weatherholt play there last year. She's a 6. Danny's a really good 6. So I think that left back position is open, and Brooklyn Courtnall could be one of those rookies that we see really shine, because her ability to move up and down the pitch, sending crosses, I think is going to be really effective for them. And I think that's a really big opportunity for her to be able to come in and really make a statement with that team.
There are a couple different rookies in the NWSL that I really am excited to see what they can do. Carly Lima, who is out of Cal Berkeley, she's playing with Bay FC in the front line. How is she going to push the boundaries of what Bay does offensively? And can they use her to get in behind or to set up Rachel Kundananji a little bit more so Kundananji doesn't have to do as much work? Same as Z Asisado Shwala, right? Can they rely on some of these younger players to relieve some of the offensive pressure that Bay faced last year? Defensively stout.
Or
Yeah.
make it more competitive.
Yeah.
Because if you're not scoring goals, you're not putting away the very obvious chances as a forward that you should.
Mhm.
A rookie's going to be like, oh, well, I'm hungry. I'll go in and do it. So I like
Also,
that shot, Lisa.
one of the first signings, right? If you, in the first year without a draft, you signed so early with the club, I want to see what you've got. You better prove yourself. And one of early offseason signings for a young player is defender Trinity Armstrong, who signed with the San Diego Wave in early January. I think it was like January 16th she signed. She only played 1 year at UNC and then left after her freshman season. They need defenders. They need players that can slot in without Germa. Of course, Abby Dahlkemper left in the middle of last season. How is San Diego possibly going to compete consistently this year? They have to rely on some of their rookies and just throw them into the fire. They'll make some mistakes, but then advance from there. But this is a season and a team where last year we had the top 4 teams, and then we had the middle chunk of 4 to 9, and then the bottom half of the table. Now, those 5 to 9 teams, the bubble teams, how are they possibly going to chase down the top 4 clubs from last season that didn't see that much change? Washington, Kansas City, Gotham, Orlando. What is going to happen? Because there's 27 points that separated between 4th and 9th place. McCall, how can those bubble teams compete with the top of the table this year?
I think it's going to come down to individual performances. They need some of their players to really step up and have some baller years. Start getting some goals in and just have really, really good performances. I think, especially with a team like Utah, right? It was their first year last year. They're getting their feet wet. Okay, now they know what to expect. And hopefully some of those players step up, and also their new additions really help out too. And I'm hoping this year there's not such a big gap, right? Like, I think that there is so much talent in this league, and there was a lot of shuffling around to, again, make even more parity. I think the teams are equal again, and anyone can win on any given day. That's what's wonderful about the NWSL and makes such viewership exciting. So I don't want to see such a big gap, because that isn't really a representation of our league. Our league is very even across the board. So I want to see it neck and neck to the very end again, and not such a big gap between the top 4 and the bottom. And again, I'll say it, my top 4 are Orlando, Kansas, Spirit, and North Carolina, and we'll see what the rest do.
Oof.
I agree. I think it's down to those individual performances, but it's really a matter of teams putting just their chances away. We saw so many teams. Louisville was a bubble team that ended in so many ties. The last how many years they've had the most draws every single season. But I do think from last year, the biggest lesson learned is the disparity isn't that crazy. It's just who put away their chances. So I do think teams across the board, besides a couple that had lost to injuries and, players going out for pregnancy, which is incredible, but that sets them up this season to not have filled those kind of pockets where they needed a stronger defense or players that can really put away their goals. So I do think that disparity is going to lessen, and decision day is going to be crazy this year. Shout out Lisa Carlin, who did the OG decision day in the NWSL. She crushed it. But I think it's going to be even crazier because those teams aren't going to be conceding as much. They're going to be putting away chances even more, which makes it more exciting for us on this end to talk about and call games and whatever we're doing around the match. But I do think it's just going to end up being more and more competitive, and that it's going to tighten that gap even more so.
All right, Darian, you want goals? You want goals.
Always.
Let's make a little bet here, you guys. A little guess, I should say. Opening weekend of NWSL,
Man.
there are 7 matches. The first time ever there are 7 matches in an opening weekend. Last year, the Challenge Cup was played in the same week, so those teams got a bye. But still, we had 23 total goals scored in 6 games. Across 7 games, how many goals are going to be scored in opening weekend? So some other stats, there was 9 goals just in that KC Portland game from
Loved it.
2024. 5
That
by
was
Kansas City.
wild.
That is wild. So what else do you think? North Carolina, there's also 5 in one club there. So what do you think? Opening weekend, give me your picks and predictions.
You said how many were scored last year?
23 total across 6 games.
I think maybe 17. I'll say 17.
17 total goals?
I don't think we'll have it's the same blowouts like we did last year. Last year, especially the opening match, was all vibes. Hey, we're just going to attack and let's see what you do. I don't think teams are going to go out this year exactly like that. It's going to be much more defensively tightened up and buttoned up than we've seen before in the league, because I think Emma Hayes has actually instilled that in US soccer and has trickled down to NWSL. But I'm going to stick with 17.
Okay.
I'm going to build on that because I think, first of all, it's incredibly hard to score a goal, in my opinion. It's really difficult. And because there's been so much shuffle with new players and new rosters, it's going to take some time for them to gel and be able to pop in some goals, and new coaching. There's been a lot of new coaches added as well. So I don't think teams are going to be coming out guns a-blazing on full force, like just, scoring goal after goal after goal. I think it's going to be a lot harder to score goals this year just because the league has gotten even better. So I'm going to go with the under on that. I'm going 16.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Guys, I'm taking the over all day. 26 goals across 7 games. 3 more than last year.
I mean, I will love that if that's the case. I would. It would be fun. But
Absolute chaos